Now we're going to hear about From Fossil to Bio, unlocking opportunities for Biosolutions in Europe's chemical industry transformation. Very important panel here, and it's going to be led for you by the CEO of the Nova Institute, Lars Börger. So Lars, please, round of applause. And panelists, if you'd like to
thanks a lot.
make your way.
Welcome, and great that you're here, although there's so many meeting opportunities. You see the title. I've reframed it a bit for myself. How can we turn the policy momentum into industrial scale? Because maybe there is a policy momentum, but we are going to learn about this from our panelists. I'm asking Martin Ledwon, who is the Vice President of Marketing and Sustainability and Communications of UPM. Thank you on stage. Erich, Cuaz, Head of Governmental Affairs and Advocacy by Clariant. Adam Lindholm, Head of Sales and Business Development of Sekab. And last but not least, Marco Pellegrini, Bioeconomy Manager of CEFIC. Thanks a lot. So this is really, people say that all the time, but it's really a fantastic panel because we have a very good, it's diverse. It's not diverse, we said already, in terms of gender, sorry for that, but in terms of companies and positions in the value chain, which we have here. And that's a fantastic part. I'd first start to let you introduce yourselves, because you can do that better than me. And while doing so in a brief manner, please also answer the questions. What is actually the biggest opportunity for bio-based or also biotechnology or bio-innovations in Europe in the next 5 years? Because we want to go with a little bit optimistic scheme here. Maybe, Martin, can I ask you to start?
Thanks, Lars. Thanks for having me on the panel. Thanks for listening in. My name is Martin Ledwon. I'm responsible for the go-to-market regulatory affairs, regulated markets for UPM's biochemicals and biofuels portfolio. UPM, if you don't know, it's a traditional Finnish pulp and paper company that started to transform into chemicals about 10 years ago, and we'll come back to that. And for the opportunity, I think, for bioeconomy, I see the biggest opportunity in the fact that the value perception for what bioeconomy can offer, both industrially and in the value chains, actually moves away from sustainability, or not, moves beyond sustainability, to topics like strategic autonomy, and is supported by an increasing focus of regulation, which together can actually accelerate market uptake.
Excellent, thank you. Erich, can I ask you to continue?
Sure.
You were nodding already. Maybe you agree already to some of the points.
Most of it. Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Erich. I'm representing Clariant, which is a global specialty chemical company with 4 billion turnover, 10,000 employees, and 3 main business units in terms of additives, care chemicals, and catalysts. And I think that the biggest opportunity, relatively short term, by 2031, I would say more as a vision that bio-based solutions are really widely not only utilized, but also officially recognized for their role in terms of addressing climate change, long-term biogenic or carbon storage, circularity, and resilience, as mentioned by my neighbor.
Excellent, thank you. Adam.
Thank you for the invitation as well. So my name is Adam Lindholm. I'm running the commercial team at Sekab. Sekab is a quite small company compared to the other guys here. We have revenue of around 100 million euros. Sekab produce 100% bio-based chemicals today, and we prove in our everyday business that this is something that can be done in industrial scale and like fully commercial. And I think to answer the question, the question here is not what Europe can do for bio-based chemicals. The question is what bio-based chemicals can do for Europe, because looking at what's happening in the world now with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of bad things going on and disruptions in the supply chain and that kind of stuff, we really have to see bio-based as a solution and nothing that we do to be nice to the environment or something like that.
Thank you. And Marco, representing the whole industry somehow.
Thank you very much. So I'm Marco Pellegrini, and I work at CEFIC, which is the European Chemical Industry Association. The abbreviation is in French, actually, if you are wondering why the letter comes from. So I represent a group of companies that is active within the bioeconomy, producing chemicals starting from biomass via different routes, including, of course, biotechnology. I concur with what the colleagues just said a moment ago. I would add that so coming in the next years, we actually see the possibility for the bioeconomy to go from, let's say, a strategy and the small scale to industrial deployment, so to really go at industrial scale. And the policy initiatives that are upcoming are a good opportunity for that. So we think that now is the time to really move towards deployment and reach the industrial scale that would actually allow to reap all the potential that the bioeconomy have and that the previous speakers have already highlighted.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so you see, really, we have this diverse and interesting panel here. Let me phrase it a bit different. So we have UPM, which is traditionally a bio-based company coming from wood and paper, which is doing some steps into the chemical world. We have Clariant, a traditional chemical company, I might say, which is already long-term in the world of bio-based and other sustainable solutions. We have a smaller, 100 million is still big, yeah? Startup which is fully dedicated into that, so very agile. And we have, of course, a representative of the whole chemistry. So we have really the ingredients here to have a good discussion, I think. And as I said, we want to turn this not into the typical more complaining part, but really more in an optimistic step into the future. And that's why I would ask all of you, actually, also in turns, and also happy if you want to answer to each other. If we jump ahead in 10 years from now, and we had been successful, and Europe would be valuing bio-based solutions much more than today, and maybe had a step towards bioeconomy, what would have changed? What is a change that we would see looking backward? No, I start with Erich, just not to follow the same order. And I ask you, yes, is it okay for you?
Sure. So we move to a bit longer term now.
Now 10 years, not only.
Yeah, not midterm. I think in an ideal world, if we talk again in 10 years, we would have first increasing replacement of fossil feedstock with renewables, bioeconomy and beyond. Clear curb. We would have a clearer, more comprehensive and stronger policy push, notably at European level. And that would obviously translate in accelerated demand creation, larger investments, and this virtuous cycle. We would have scale-up commercial facilities that can treat diverse waste streams.
That was wrong.
That was disruptive.
There must have been a wrong statement here. No. No, maybe.
Okay, better? Yeah. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, just to end, yeah, turning, of course, those streams into high-value biochemicals. And last but not least, a more competitive and resilient European economy, also thanks to that push.
Okay, thank you. So we will have seen a lot of investments already, you say, yeah, and then they will be commercial. So we really see just, yeah, excellent. I don't know, Adam, how will Sekab be? Will be the leader and will have bought UPM at that time? Or?
Hopefully, yeah. Never know. I mean, I try to answer in the correct way, so I don't get that wrong answer sound. But from my perspective, I was thinking about what do I hope for in 10 years. I mean, it's yeah, we're halfway to 2050, and many companies should be a quite long run into achieving their science-based target and those kind of sustainability targets. And I think what's important is alignment. What I see today trying to sell bio-based chemicals every day is that the sustainability team, in many cases the board and the management team, they say one thing, and the procurement department, they have other KPIs basically. They are measured on, okay, do get the lowest price on this solvent and that kind of stuff, which makes sense, especially in a market environment like this. But in the end, companies have to be aligned so that we can see this shift, and I think in 10 years we should definitely be there when we have like total alignment between the sustainability department and the procurement department.
Yeah, interesting aspect. I think it's often enough that the hurdle is elsewhere, and purchasing departments often are still paid by buying the cheapest stuff. So yeah, very interesting point. What is your perspective?
Yeah, so I think using one word in 2035 and looking a little bit in the CEFIC crystal ball, so we have a thriving bioeconomy, which is has become a little bit a new normal way of manufacturing. And to go there, so looking 2035, I expect that we have a different type of discussion, so that we are not discussing anymore on market pull measures, and we are not discussing anymore what is the sustainability criteria for biomass, etc., but that we have actually already achieved those milestones, if I can call them like that, and that the bioeconomy and the use of biotechnology has become mainstream. So we have said in the past, so we want to have a mainstreaming of the bioeconomy. So in 2035, I would expect to have reached that point. Of course, from a use of feedstock point of view, so from our point of view, it will be a mix. So it's not going to be just biomass, but there will be also feedstock coming from recycled carbon or CCU, and also to an extent probably there will still be some fossil feedstock. But we should be already at a higher degree of utilization of biomass for manufacturing products and not only energy.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, Martin.
Okay, there's a German saying by Karl Valentin, everything has been said but not by me, so I'm not going to go in that direction. So I concur with everything that's been said, and just maybe add one nuance to it, and I think it's the whole notion of the value of bioeconomy, how it's being perceived and what actually drives policy will be in 10 years, actually accepting the fact that a sustainable material cycle essentially rests on virgin inputs. And that's not something that we have to remind of, it's accepted. And that's the baseline for how we actually look industrial transformation going forward. Based on the scale up, based on the market demand, based on the regulatory perception that it's a complement to circularity, that's established. And once that is done, I think Europe can be leading also on a global scale in 10 years from now.
Yeah, very interesting aspect. I think it's often overseen that circularity alone will not solve it, because it needs fresh input, I guess. Maybe I stay with you, Martin, on UPM. I mean, I think many of us have been following the latest developments, also with your investment, first of a kind, which was, I guess, not an easy ride, let's say. Could you describe how did you keep the courage and the commitment in the company? What was the drivers for that? And what did you make it happen?
Okay, good. Yeah, it still is a ride. So we're like, I don't know whether everybody's aware, we've been sort of taking an investment decision into a refinery in Leuna that's basically producing chemicals, commodities, so and specialties from primary biomass beechwood. First of its kind, and we decided to actually go into full scale with an original investment or capex investment budget of 550 million, which has grown now to roughly 1.3 billion. The refinery is coming together. We're starting up. It's commissioned, and we basically take into operations unit by unit. So that ride on a technological level, with everything that first of its kind brings, is ongoing, right? It's there. So we started commercializing first products. We're going in there. I think the courage. I think and that is maybe the point I want to highlight here. It's not only UPM. It's more generally what's the investment climate that we're in towards these kind of projects. We took the FID after 12 years of development in 2020. It's a completely different time. So it's like 6 weeks before Corona hit. At a time when pulp and paper had been, we had 24 quarters of consecutive EBIT growth. We had a cash balance that was positive in the company. So the world looked differently. At the same time, we've already started sort of strategically shifting towards bio-based chemistry and refining 5 years back with opening a crude tall oil-based advanced biofuels refinery, which was operational at this time and actually bringing returns to the company. So the whole context we took the decision in was a different one, which currently I don't see any company in any country in the European Union that would have an equally strong starting position. Something to maybe come back to. Why we keep the courage? I think we started building, we saw that there is like, you know, difficulties. We experienced what everybody else experienced. Corona impacted engineering, Ukraine war impacted cost of production and cost of building and so forth, but we also started commercializing the portfolio while we were building. And that was the encouraging part, because the more we actually went out in the market, we understood the value potential. So there's lignin-based products that actually go as performance chemicals that go way beyond selling at a sustainability premium. It's a performance aspect that we do. We found that these products qualify for much more different market segments that we anticipated in the beginning, you know, strengthening the overall commercialization route that we have. These things kept us going, and you know, we're still going strong, I would say.
Okay, great. So you described that it was a totally different time back in 2020. There was a bit of a sustainability hype, I would almost dare to say. Is there still anything you can deduct from that in terms of what are the signals and for such large-scale investments, what is necessary? What can the others learn?
Yeah, well, I think it's the courage is one thing, and I think it's this. I think the other topic is first moving actually is honored, or is sort of it brings a return. So us moving into certain market segments, claiming a position actually generates a very strong position, in terms of capex return potential, and it is for us it's a starting point for a very likely further growth potential in the company. So the platform is there, defendable, and we see that the market success is actually tangible. So that's the point where we see already now a return on the risk that we've taken.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, we still try to figure out what this filter is of the microphone.
Too long answers.
Maybe that is then okay. We're gonna see. Okay, yeah, excellent. I mean, I'll skip the original order, so because I think that is good to switch over to Clariant. I mean, you have been also doing a lot of investments and work in that field. So that means also one of the companies which has maybe most experience in the field of bringing bio-based or more sustainable products into the market. What would you see? What are the relevant circumstances which lead to that, and what is the relevant experience we can take into the discussion here from Clariant point of view?
So I mean, some of the key factors have just been mentioned, and I think these are, of course, key success factor. We at Clariant believe very much in the pivotal role of renewable feedstock, a bit larger than just bio, but also a lot of bio. And I can confirm we see renewability as a strong value element, and more. Of course, there's a number of additional conditions that needs to be supporting the shift, but we have been developing, just to quote a couple of examples of products and solutions, 100% bio-based surfactants for home care industry, cosmetic ingredients, bio-based additives, waxes for plastic packaging, textiles. So we really believe that there is very strong potential in at least some of those key applications. This is a feedback we get from all value chain partners, from supplier downstream to customers. There is a lot of innovation going on. I'm not teaching anything new here, but we also believe that there are a number of additional elements that needs to be deployed, and one key critical element to unlock further that innovation opportunity is certainly policy. And I can elaborate a bit later on, but we really see a central role, especially at the European Union level, to have a kind of market mobilization package with a number of smart, ideally pragmatic incentives that could really help fostering demand. That means investments, infrastructure, scale up.
Well, excellent. Yeah, thank you. That is good point. Actually, then turning to you, Marco, actually on that. I mean, you're not the politician, but you're hit for that. So we see quite encouraging statements here, I think. On the other side, I would say also the European Union. You could call it, is there a momentum? That's a question to you in terms of policy making. We see Bioeconomy Act, we see the Critical Chemicals Alliance, and so on and so on. So what you see, how's your perspective? Is there a policy momentum building up, also with this encouraging statement in mind?
Yes, so I would say there is a policy momentum. So if I look at what the Bioeconomy strategy of November 2025 last year put forward, and what is being done this year. So I see there is initiatives like the upcoming Regulator Innovator Forum, Bio-Based Industry Alliance, which could be helpful. So there is aspects that are being implemented. Some of these, it's voluntary initiatives, so helpful up to a certain extent. But we also see within the CCA the focus on lead markets, and now also within the Commission we see that there is a discussion on how there can be support for the industry so that products reach the market, because there is a market for them. So I would say I'm moderately optimistic, and we will see what will be implemented in the upcoming policies. But I also wanted to comment a little on what was said earlier, because from what Martin and Erich said, I think it's evident that there is different aspects that need to be taken into account. So there is the technology aspect, so technology readiness level, which is of course relevant, but you can only go up to a certain point if you do not have also the commercial readiness. So that is something that also is very, very important. And also it's clear that the investment size that is necessary for building an industrial scale facility is huge. So there are of course front runners like UPM, but if we want this to become more generally true, then we really need to show to investors, which are then the one that may be putting the money, or that there is a market at the end, so that there can be a return. And then another point that I think was interesting is that so there is value in novel molecules, because indeed they deliver certain advantages, and that's also something that can be used to have this commercial readiness, because you have a feature that you can sell. But there is also the possibility of using drop-ins, so same molecule that is with exactly the same functionality. And we need to keep in mind that we need to have both if we want to really make a dent into the market. So we cannot focus only on one or the other, but we need to have both.
Yeah, Martin, direct reaction to that?
Yeah, just a very short one. I think it's a great point you're making there. I think there is a market for performance where the premium is evident in the technical properties of the product. And then if you really want to pull this bioeconomy idea through, that you complement circularity with bio-based virgin materials, we also have to address the commodities. And that's the area of the market where it's much harder to get the premium, that you actually need to refinance your capex. And that's the point where regulation really plays a key role. So great point, Marco.
Okay, just getting back to you briefly. So would you say there is this momentum now? Is there now, we see that the politicians have understood what we are talking about?
I think it is clear what is the necessity, then what the solution will be and how that will be implemented. So I don't know, will there be mandates for bio-based, biomass derived, as we say, so bio-based, bioattributed? And how that will be exactly implemented, that we have to see. So I think the understanding of what the issues are is there. What the answer will be, there we will see during the year.
Okay. Well, Adam, then talking about solutions, and while we are searching for the right solution, you sell, right? So in your currently you're already very flexible and you're doing that. So would you describe a bit how you see this current situation? Is there a let's say some tailwind for bio-based solutions on the one hand side, and also do you see already something happening due to geopolitical topics?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, we do sell this type of products today, bio-based ones, and I have to agree. I think the solution here is not like one single solution. This will solve everything. We have to be open, and we have to realize that it will be many different type of solutions to this problem. But I think in this room it's quite fair to say that everybody agrees that bio-based chemical is one of the solutions, and it's a good thing. And even though we agree on that, we don't buy it today, and I think we have to ask us the question: why do we not buy the bio-based chemicals that are available on the market at a fair price? They don't at this. You asked about the geopolitical situation, and at this point they don't even come with a premium. And circling back to that, I think from my perspective, we at Sekab and companies like Sekab focusing on bio-based, we have to understand that even though everybody agree, we don't act. One of the help we need here, we can talk about policies and regulations, but I think sustainable carbon quotas would be probably a game changer for the whole industry to act and act faster than if we're waiting for everything to be set in place. That day will never come. So if we do see something like sustainable carbon quotas, probably many of the large companies will start not switching everything into more sustainable solutions, but switching something, and that will help us to make the steps faster.
Yes, and you do see that already happening right now.
We see it happening, and we have a really sad situation in the Middle East, but I think it's stressed one thing in the industry, and that of course resilience, but also security of supply. We heard earlier today about what happened during COVID. Many companies were thinking, yeah, maybe we shouldn't buy everything just in time. It's good to have something in stock as well. And then now it's the same drill once again, where many companies rely on fossil sources, and those fossil sources are not from Europe. So that's also a big opportunity for bio-based and bio-innovation.
Yeah, we heard the term of resilience already earlier, and autonomy, and so that is probably an aspect. And yeah, I don't know, is that a value proposition which we hear much more now on the European level? I think you know the answer?
Yes. But I would like to just make a brief comment. So I think in the recent months, we saw the situation with the Strait of Hormuz, etc. But I think it also showed that if you want to have a substitution, you also need to have the capacity there. Because if you have, let's say, your manufacturing basis, which is focused on using, let's say, fossil resources or a certain specific supply, you cannot expect that the moment a crisis hits, immediately you can make a switch. So you need to be ready before. So that's a little bit also what we need to think in terms of resilience and strategic autonomy, that, okay, we need to look a little bit more in the future and how can we be prepared if something like that happen again. So the next Strait of Hormuz.
Excellent, yeah. Yeah, we are running already out of time to a certain degree, unfortunately. And I would just emphasize that actually if we would be able to spend the money which we now have to spend extra on fossil, in Europe, in investing in new facilities, we could already make the switch almost completely. The estimated 130 billion which European Union will have to pay for extra because of the war. So that is already, there's some money principally, yeah, and we need to direct it, I guess, yes. Well, coming to the end, I mean, we here also, we want to learn how the policy momentum, which obviously is there, can lead to scale up. Would like to ask you, for your final statements, but also then I would specifically also ask you to share a bit what you think we can learn from you. So the first two questions go to Martin and Erich after each other. What can we learn from you with regards to partnerships which are necessary to bring things into the market, and also in terms of business models? Is there anything we can deduct and learn? Yeah, maybe we start with that. Erich, Martin, sorry, do you want to start?
Well, thanks. On the partnership specifically, I think maybe starting this quickly on the one point, what drives I think the scale up? It's a chicken and egg thing, right? We can endlessly debate. I think what we need is industrial commitment and complemented by policy. So it's not called policy and then industrial, it's both, right? I think it's this guts to invest, reducing dependence on single suppliers and building the capacity that Marco mentioned and so forth. And I think that leads me to the partnership topic. I think the proposition that companies investing make needs to actually go along the entire value chain to build trust. So what we did successfully, I believe, is we integrated forward. So we're selling B2B very much upstream, but the value of the products actually is further downstream. So that's one of the areas in the commercialization approach that we paid heavy attention to, is that we actually integrate forward through partnerships, through joint agreements and so forth. That's the one. And secondly, I think there's still a lot of convincing to do in the societal space. So our front runner position actually prompted us also to engage way ahead of our size with NGOs and policies. And I think that's something that I believe is still valuable going forward.
Thanks, excellent. Erich, with a brief addition.
So in terms of partnership collaboration, let me give you a very concrete example we discussed recently internally. We have at Clariant more or less 80 to 90 ongoing what we call supplier-enabled innovation projects. So that's part of our strategy to engage much more actively than before with value chain partners, get the best ideas, get into those innovative projects. And we surveyed, our procurement colleagues surveyed around 130 companies about what are the key success factors today for this type of collaboration and partnerships. And one of the answers which came really, I think, number 3, alongside more obvious ones, was increasingly you need to factor in from the earliest stages of your value chain discussions, topics like sustainability consideration, policy, regulatory trends, impacts, risk, and opportunities. And that, I think, in a very difficult world, especially for the European chemical industry, all the volatility we see in supply chain and so on and so forth, it's clear that collaboration partnership becomes even more essential than ever. And by the way, one of the answers was also what is one of the most important innovation field for the collaboration with Clariant, and 45% of them answer renewable feedstock alternatives. That shows at least the potential.
Great. Okay, thanks a lot. It's exciting. Unfortunately, we need to come to the end because we could have continued forever. But Adam, quickly. So what can the others learn from you? What can UPM and Clariant learn from you? This speedy small company.
I think that's the answer. Speed.
Okay.
That's the short one.
Okay, good. Good, thank you.
And I will just say so that also from a policy perspective, it's important to have collaboration and exchange, and also try to be as concrete as possible so that policy can deliver.
Thanks. Okay, unfortunately, I have to close the panel already. Thanks to Bioinnovations Europe for this excellent opportunity, and I think we are going to continue the discussion. There's sufficient room for that also later. So thanks a lot again to you for the nice discussion. Thanks to you for being here, and enjoy the rest of the beautiful conference. Thank you.